Greetings, friends. Prepare for another thrilling journey as we delve into Reddit's most bizarre tales. We're plunging deep into the quirkiest corners of the web. Grab your popcorn and join us on this adventure. Remember to hit subscribe and like. Let's begin. The sun had dipped below the horizon, casting the city in a soft, dusky glow as I sat in my car, hands gripping the steering wheel, knuckles white with tension. I was parked a few blocks away from a house I had never seen before, in a neighborhood I'd never visited. It was a place I never imagined I would be, both physically and emotionally. The location on my wife's phone had led me here, and a gnawing sensation in my gut told me something wasn't right. For the past 3 years, I've been married to a woman I believe was the love of my life. I'm 29 now and she's 36, and those years have been, for the most part, happy. Sure, we had our share of arguments and disagreements, but I always believed we were on solid ground, that our love was strong enough to weather any storm. But now, as I sat there in the growing twilight, doubt swirled in my mind like a dark cloud, blotting out the sun. It had started a few weeks ago. I'd noticed her location popping up in unusual places that didn't make sense given her usual routine. She's always been open with me about where she was going, who she was with, what she was doing. So when I first noticed the discrepancy, I brushed it off as a glitch, some technological hiccup. But then it happened again, and again. One day, I decided to follow the trail, not because I wanted to be a suspicious husband, but because I needed to understand. I had left some work gear in her car, and it gave me the perfect excuse to drop by. I called her once. No answer. I called again, and this time she picked up, her voice breathless, as if she had been running. "Sorry, I left my phone in the car," she said quickly. But even as she spoke, I watched her emerge from the house, the phone clutched in her hand. A cold realization washed over me. She was lying, and she knew it. I saw the flicker of panic in her eyes when she noticed me standing there, my heart pounding so loudly I could barely hear her stammer apologies. I confronted her right then and there, my voice trembling with the weight of the question that had been gnawing at me for days. "Are you cheating on me?" Her face crumpled like a fragile piece of paper, her eyes darting away from mine. "No, it started a few months ago," she confessed, her voice barely above a whisper. She told me it wasn't what I thought. It was just conversations, just texts, just words. She said she wanted to fix things, to make things right between us, to heal the cracks in our marriage. I didn't know what to say. My mind was a storm of confusion, hurt, and disbelief. She gave excuses, reasons why she had let it happen. But all I could hear were the echoes of her betrayal. It felt like a knife had been driven into my chest, and with every word she spoke, it twisted deeper. I walked away from her that night, my thoughts a tangled mess of pain and doubt. For a week, I couldn't think straight. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. I replayed that moment over and over in my head, trying to make sense of it, trying to understand how the woman I loved could do this to me. Then, a week later, she came to me again. This time, her words were desperate, pleading. Nothing physical happened, she swore, tears streaming down her face. It was just emotional, just a mistake. Please, you have to believe me. But I didn't know what to believe anymore. It didn't matter if nothing physical had happened, because in my mind, the betrayal was just as real. She had shared something with someone else, something that should have been mine alone. And now I was left questioning everything, her honesty, her love, our future. As the days passed, I found myself spiraling into a dark place. Every time I looked at her, all I could see was the lie, the betrayal. It haunted me like a shadow that followed me everywhere I went. I tried to push it aside, tried to focus on the good times we'd shared, the love we once had. But the doubt was always there, lurking in the back of my mind, whispering in my ear. Should I try to fix things? Should I walk away? I didn't know what to do. Part of me wanted to fight for our marriage, to believe that we could get through this, that we could rebuild what had been broken. But another part of me, the part that had been wounded so deeply, wanted to let go, to escape the pain and start over. I loved her. That much I knew. But love wasn't supposed to feel like this. Love wasn't supposed to hurt so much. And yet, here I was caught in a web of confusion and despair, not knowing which way to turn. Every time she spoke, I analyzed her words, looking for hidden meanings, for signs that she was still lying to me. I couldn't trust her anymore, and that realization cut deeper than anything else. Trust had been the foundation of our relationship, and without it, everything else crumbled. She promised me that it was over, that she would never speak to him again. But how could I believe her? How could I trust her when she had already shattered that trust once before? The doubt gnawed at me, eating away at the love I still felt for her, poisoning every thought, every feeling. Weeks turned into months, and still, I was no closer to finding an answer. My heart was torn in two, pulled in opposite directions. On one side was the life we had built together, the memories, the love, the dreams we had shared. On the other side was the fear, the pain, the knowledge that she had betrayed me in the most intimate way. I knew that if I stayed, if I tried to fix things, it would take time. Time to rebuild the trust, time to heal the wounds. But I also knew that the doubt would always be there, lurking in the shadows, waiting to resurface at the slightest provocation. But leaving would mean giving up on everything we had built, everything we had dreamed of. It would mean walking away from the woman I had vowed to love and cherish for the rest of my life. And that thought terrified me just as much as staying. There were moments when I thought I could forgive her, that I could move past the betrayal and rebuild our marriage. But those moments were fleeting, quickly replaced by the cold, hard reality of what she had done. The pain was too raw, too fresh, and I didn't know if I would ever be able to move beyond it. As the months wore on, I began to notice something. The anger, the pain, the doubt, they were still there, but they were no longer consuming me. Slowly, quietly, something else was taking their place. Acceptance, not acceptance of what she had done, but acceptance of the fact that my life had changed irrevocably, that the love we had shared could never be the same. I realized that I was at a crossroads, and whichever path I chose, there would be no going back. If I stayed, I would have to let go of the past, let go of the hurt, and rebuild from the ground up. But if I left, I would have to start over alone without the woman I had once believed would be by my side forever. I knew that no one could make this decision for me. It was mine alone to bear, and in the quiet moments of reflection, I began to understand that either choice would bring its own kind of pain, its own kind of healing. The day I made my decision was like any other. The sun was shining, the birds were singing, and the world went on as if nothing had changed. But inside, I knew that my life was about to take a new direction, one that would define the rest of my days. I looked at her, the woman I had loved for so long, and I saw not the betrayal, not the pain, but the person she truly was, flawed, imperfect, and human. I saw a love that had brought us together, the dreams we had shared, the life we had built. And I knew that no matter what had happened, that love was still there, buried beneath the hurt and the anger. But I also knew that love alone wasn't enough. Trust was the foundation of any relationship, and once it was broken, it could never be fully restored. I could try to rebuild, to forgive, to move on. But the doubt would always be there, a shadow that would never fully disappear. And so, with a heavy heart, I made my choice. I chose to let go, to walk away from the life we had built, to start over on my own. It wasn't an easy decision, and it wasn't one I made lightly, but I knew it was the right one for me. As I packed my bags and prepared to leave, I felt a sense of peace, a quiet acceptance of what was and what could never be. I knew that I would always carry a part of her with me, that the love we had shared would always be a part of who I was. But I also knew that it was time to move on, to find my own path and to heal. In the months that followed, I began to rebuild my life, piece by piece. It wasn't easy, and there were days when the pain of what had happened threatened to overwhelm me. But slowly, I began to find my footing, to discover who I was without her. I learned to embrace the uncertainty, to find strength in the knowledge that I had made the right choice for myself. I learned to forgive, not just her, but myself as well, for the mistakes I had made, for the trust I had given, for the love I had lost. And in that forgiveness, I found a new sense of freedom, a new sense of possibility. I knew that the road ahead would be long and difficult, but I also knew that I had the strength to walk it, one step at a time. In the end, I realized that life is not about avoiding pain, but about finding the courage to face it, to learn from it, and to grow. And as I stood at the edge of a new beginning, I knew that I was ready to embrace whatever the future held, with an open heart and an open mind. The past would always be a part of me, but it no longer defined me. I was free, and for the first time in a long time, I felt a sense of hope, of possibility, of joy. And as I took that first step into the unknown, I knew that I was finally ready to let go and to embrace the life that was waiting for me on the other side.